In the tranquil town of Blackwood Hollow, where the river's lullaby soothed the souls of its residents, Nurse Sarah Brennan was a beacon of comfort and care. Her warm smile and gentle touch were as much a part of the town's fabric as the ancient oak trees that lined its streets. When Sarah disappeared without a trace one stormy night, the close-knit community was left reeling, their sense of security shattered. Sarah had been on her way home from the hospital, where she worked the night shift. Her car was found abandoned on the outskirts of town, the driver's side door swung open, and the engine still warm. The rain had long since washed away any potential clues, leaving investigators with little to go on. The initial hypothesis was that Sarah had been a victim of a random act of violence, perhaps a passing motorist or a drifter seeking refuge from the storm. The town rallied together, putting up missing person posters and organizing search parties. The local newspaper, the Blackwood Gazette, ran daily updates on the investigation, keeping the town informed and on edge. As days turned into weeks, the investigation took a surprising turn. Detectives discovered that Sarah had been hiding a secret that would rock the very foundation of her seemingly perfect life. Behind her nurse's uniform and cheerful demeanor, Sarah was involved in a passionate affair with a married man from a neighboring town. This revelation shocked her colleagues and friends, who had always seen her as a model of virtue and dedication. The married man, a charismatic and wealthy businessman named Richard Blake, became a person of interest. He admitted to the affair but claimed that Sarah had been the one to pursue him and that their relationship was consensual. He provided an alibi for the night of Sarah's disappearance, placing him at a business dinner across town. Despite thorough questioning, Richard's story held up, and he was eventually cleared of suspicion. Meanwhile, Sarah's loyal dog, a German shepherd named Loki, had been acting strangely since her disappearance. He would often pace by the front door, whining and scratching at the wood, as if trying to communicate something. One of the investigators, Detective Emily Carter, decided to follow Loki one day when he seemed particularly agitated. To her surprise, Loki led her directly to the forest road where Sarah's car had been found. Loki began to sniff the ground intensely, his tail wagging nervously. He led Detective Carter deeper into the woods, off the main path, and towards a dense thicket. There, half buried in the leaf litter, they found a small, blood-stained locket, Sarah's locket. Loki barked softly, as if confirming their discovery. The locket was sent to the lab for analysis, and the results were chilling. The blood was a match for Sarah's, and animal DNA was also present, wolf DNA, to be precise. The investigators realized that Sarah had been attacked by a wild animal, and her body had been dragged into the woods. Loki's persistent behavior had led them to this crucial piece of evidence. The town was abuzz with the new development. The initial theory of a random violent act was replaced by the horrifying reality of a wild animal attack. Search parties were reorganized, this time with an eye out for any signs of a wolf den or lair. Loki continued to assist, his keen sense of smell proving invaluable in the dense forest. As the search intensified, another twist emerged. A local hunter, who had been tracking the same wolf pack, came forward with a disturbing piece of information. He had seen a wolf with a distinctive scar on its flank, which matched the description of the wolf that had attacked Sarah. The hunter claimed that this particular wolf had been acting erratically, almost as if possessed, and had been seen near the areas where Sarah's belongings were found. The hunter's testimony led investigators to a secluded part of the forest, where they discovered an abandoned cabin. Inside, they found evidence that Richard Blake had been using the cabin for clandestine meetings. Among the items discovered were love letters from Sarah, indicating that their affair had been more intense and complicated than Richard had initially let on. Richard was brought in for further questioning, and this time, his story began to unravel. He admitted that he had been at the cabin the night of Sarah's disappearance, but he claimed that he had left her there safe and sound. He insisted that he had no idea what had happened to her after that. The investigators were skeptical, and Richard's alibi started to crumble under the weight of the new evidence. Just as it seemed that Richard might be the key to unlocking the truth, another shocking development occurred. A local wildlife expert, who had been consulted on the case, revealed that the wolf pack in the area had been exhibiting unusual behavior. They had been acting more aggressively and had been seen venturing closer to human settlements. The expert hypothesized that the wolves might have been driven to desperation by a loss of their natural habitat due to recent development projects in the area. With this new information, the focus of the investigation shifted once again. The community began to connect the dots between the wolf attacks, Richard's affair with Sarah, and the environmental changes that had been taking place. It became clear that the fate of Nurse Sarah Brennan was entwined with the darker side of human nature and the untamed wilderness that surrounded their town. In a final, emotional twist, Loki led the investigators to a hidden grotto deep within the forest. There, they found Sarah's remains, partially concealed by fallen leaves and branches. The sight was heart-wrenching, and the town mourned the loss of their beloved nurse deeply. A memorial service was held, attended by the entire community, where tears were shed and stories of her generosity and compassion were shared. In the end, it was Loki, her loyal companion, who had led the investigators to the truth. His unwavering devotion had ensured that Sarah's story would be told and her memory honored. The small town of Blackwood Hollow would never forget Nurse Sarah Brennan, the woman who had touched so many lives and whose tragic end had brought the community closer than ever. The case served as a stark reminder of the unseen dangers that lurk in the shadows, both in the wild and within the complex tapestry of human relationships.